What was the dumbest way someone has died that you've heard about? I read about a guy who died after falling from a balcony at a drunken party. The next night, another guy fell to his death from the same balcony while demonstrating for friends how the guy had fallen the previous night. Like, he was walking along the railing, like this. He made sure to be as accurate as he could with his demonstration. The first man to go over the Niagara Falls in a barrel and survive later died due to complications from slipping on a banana peel. There was a guy who came to our high school to give this speech about drinking and driving. He said, now that graduation was upon our senior class, that we should be cautious, and if our peers happen to be under the influence, we should watch out for them, drive them home, call adults, and whatnot. Barely 2 weeks after that, dude passed away due to drinking and driving. What a hypocrite. 2 Darwin Awards I remember. 1. A tour bus driver stops at a rest stop, but forgets to put the parking brake on. After getting out of the bus, they see it rolling forward and try to stop it by standing in front of it and pushing. 2. A guy thought it would be fun to drop large pieces of concrete from an overpass on cars driving below. He found the biggest one he could move with rebar sticking out of it and dragged it to the overpass. As he was pushing it over the edge, some rebar caught his pants, pulling him over the edge as well. That second one is deserved, to be honest. Dropping heavy objects onto cars in the highway should be attempted manslaughter charges or worse, regardless if passengers or drivers were injured. I've seen videos involving these kinds of stuff, and it's horrible. This one guy from my village, it's his birthday and they're at a restaurant, suddenly started choking on his food. All his friends began to panic, just for him to start laughing. He thought it was funny. He died the next course choking on a piece of meat. He died in the presence of his friends and family, who were ignoring him, thinking it was another prank. When I was in high school, my agriculture teacher was driving the bus to take me and the rest of my FFA chapter to a convention. On the way, he ended up making an unexpected detour to a graveyard. He parked the bus, got off, and went to have a moment of silence by one of the tombstones. Everyone on the bus was confused, but we gave him his time because we could see that it was important. We asked him who he was visiting when he got back on the bus. He said it was one of his childhood friends. When he was a kid, he and his friends were roasting marshmallows by a fire. They were fucking around like kids do, and one of his friends accidentally ended up putting one of the hot roasting sticks through another friend's eye. I don't know the specific medical complications that took place, but he ended up dying. It was a total freak accident. I'm 27 now, but that story always stuck with me. I thought it was really sweet and thoughtful that he made a point of intermittently visiting his childhood friend. But also, what a dumb way to lose your life, especially at such a young age. I'm a plumber, and someone who worked for my company died about 7 years ago on the job. Coworker went on a service call and ended up having to grind out some old cast iron pipe and replace with PVC. The homeowner neglected to mention he makes fireworks in his spare time, and had a faint barrel of gunpowder in the same room as the pipe. Sparks were flying and some landed on the gunpowder, blowing up my coworker and the homeowner. Both dead on sight. That's crazy. Yeah, it was crazy. I think his wife tried to sue our company, but it was thrown out. There was a guy in my province who died by sofa sledding. By sofa sledding, I mean they tie a sofa behind a car truck and drag it around with someone on the sofa. I know people can get bored in the more remote region of my province, but video game consoles exist. Toronto lawyer Gary Hoy was giving a tour and decided to demonstrate his favorite party trick, throwing himself against the windows of the Toronto Dominion Bank Tower so the students could see just how resilient the glass was. Hoy had performed the stunt to audiences countless times before. As well as demonstrating the strength of the windows, it was clear that he enjoyed showing off a bit. The first time Hoy body slammed the window that day, he bounced off as he had every other time. But then he threw himself at the window a second time. Instead of bouncing off the window as he had the first time, Hoy went straight through, plunging 24 stories down toward the building courtyard below. The fall killed him instantly. The glass didn't shatter immediately, but rather popped out of its frame. Something you learn working in construction: never trust someone else's work. Witness firsthand. Forklift slipped off a ramp and crushed someone. The driver was okay. Not mentally, but he walked away with minor bruises. The poor crushed idiot ran towards the falling forklift as if he could stop it from falling. There was a guy I went to high school with that tried to catch a car falling off a lift. I don't know, man. I think it's just an instinctual move in both cases. For real, because I'm sitting here like, as much as I want to think I wouldn't do something so stupid, in the moment our brains get frisky. My stubborn, battered, and horribly obese grandfather paid a homeless man $20 to roll him out of the hospital and into the back of his truck using a furniture dolly to take him home. He didn't want to be in the hospital, and nobody would take him home because he was being treated for numerous conditions including diabetic stroke and liver failure. He was found dead in his lazaboy the next afternoon, sitting in his own shit, covered in spilled potatoes, corn, and gravy, with the Golf Channel still playing on his cable TV. We only know the story because the homeless man got arrested for trespassing in the private areas of the hospital. He died doing what he loves. Got to be the idiot football hooligan who decides to head at a police horse and died from the trauma that caused to himself. Horse was fine though. There's a video of someone headbutting a goal post or something, then he's dead. Also a soccer player who did a backflip to celebrate a goal, then basically broke his neck when he landed. It was an Eastern European basketball player. He headed the padded part of the goalpost and instantly drops. He paralyzed himself from the neck down, but didn't die, which to me is worse. Just kill me, don't fucking paralyze me. I remember reading an article about a Japanese man who constantly got tickets for not wearing his seatbelt, so he made a fake seatbelt that he wore while driving to avoid the tickets. He died in a car accident that would have been a minor accident if he was wearing his real seatbelt. This was somebody I personally knew as a kid, but this was in adulthood after we lost touch. I have mixed feeling about it because you feel terrible about the loss of a childhood friend, but you also have to shake your head and say, what a dumbass. Hurricane Ike hit Texas in 2008. Most people evacuated my town, and with good reason. Most of the town ended up being entirely destroyed. Some people stayed behind because they figured it wasn't a big deal, or because they figured they'd defend their property from looters. My friend thought it might be a nice day to go out fishing. The storm hit, he got knocked out of his boat somehow, and never came back up. The kid who ate a slug on a dare got infected with the rat lungworm parasite which infected his brain, went into a coma, woke up a year later completely paralyzed, then died. Recently read an article about that. He was 100% mentally there, too, according to his friends and family. But even speaking was almost impossible for him. Guy known to police in my city who was the subject of many news articles was apparently at a campground with two girls, not sure who they were to him, and they got into an argument, and he beat the shit out of them. Police were called, and I guess he figured his best option was to make it look like self-defense, so he stabbed himself in the side with a knife and proceeded to die from the wound. Reality really can be stranger than fiction. Great-granddad died early on the morning on May 9, 1945 by falling over the walls of his barracks in France after sneaking past the MPs, blind drunk because he was celebrating V-Day the night before. Egypt survived the entire war and broke his neck before getting sent home. Not sure it classifies as dumbest way to die because I can understand why they didn't think about it. But basically a couple of people drowned at a party because they put dry ice in a swimming pool to get some fog. The dry ice is nothing but CO2, so it will evaporate, and since it is heavier than air it will replace the air above the water in the pool. So people simply passed out from breathing CO2 and then drowned. Pretty sad way to go. Asian dude crawled into a septic tank underneath a woman's house so he could watch her pee. Couldn't turn his body back around and got stuck and died. Woman notices an extra foul smell a week later, and they find his corpse. Mysterious death in female toilet, Fukushima, Japan. I still remember this, almost 30 years later. On September 6, 1995, outside of Talladega, Alabama, two drunk rednecks thought it would be fun to toss a rattlesnake back and forth between them by its tail. Not liking the game, the snake let both of them have it. 35-year-old Joe Buddy Kane lost his life in this pursuit, while his companion, Junior Bright, had to be hospitalized. Jumping off a speeding boat for TikTok clout. A young guy in my hometown got hit by a train when he tried to cross the rails on his dirt bike. What's special about it? The track was almost not used. There were like 5 connections per day going there. On top of that, a train station was really close to that unfortunate place, and trains were still running relatively slow. Waving a big tall metal Dale Earnhardt flagpole at the Talladega Superspeedway and getting it tangled up in power lines. The son of a friend's sister. He and his brother imagined themselves to be big-time gangsters. They stole a lawnmower from a neighbor who saw them, and then drove to their home and took it back. They hopped in their car and drove back to his house to confront him for disrespecting them. He ran the brothers off by brandishing a firearm. They went home and got a baseball bat to show him who the real tough guys are. They went back, threatened the man, and he shot one of them in the leg. They ran to their car, gathered some courage, then went to confront the man again. This time one brother got a bullet to the eye and the other got one in the shoulder. One died and the other has a limp and can't throw a ball anymore. What was the dumbest way someone has died? Leave a comment and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more videos like this one.